Several cities that have banned guns and defunded their police departments are now seeing a historic rise in violent crime practically across the board, because it turns out when you disarm law-abiding citizens and then lay off all the cops, bad people end up doing even more bad things. And it doesn't much matter how much you tax the good people or how much money you throw towards social programs, because see, that just keeps people dependent, which leads to poverty, which creates social ills, which leads to even more crime. It's uncanny, like saying water is wet. So let me just add this. This is not a shock. This was in every way predictable. This is liberalism, and it has never worked out any other way. So when all of you fools who voted for it decide this crap isn't working out for you, and you decide to bail to somewhere you don't have to dodge gang violence and drug crimes while paying through the nose for all of these programs, just remember this. Wherever you go, do not take this same idiocy with you. A 24-year-old man and his wife were both shot in Chicago over the weekend. He died and she's in critical condition, which is super weird because I thought there were no guns allowed in Chicago, so not really sure how someone had one in the first place. A few days before that, 3 women and 1 man were killed and another 4 were injured after somebody opened fire in a home in Englewood. Thankfully, the 2-year-old who was in the house at the time made it out okay. Of course, that's not always the case. Of the 105 who were shot in Chicago over Father's Day weekend, 16 were killed, including a 3-year-old boy and a 13-year-old girl. This is a city with some of the strictest gun control measures in the entire country. It's also the city where Mayor Lori Lightfoot has proposed cutting $80 million from the local police department. In New York City, a campaign volunteer was stabbed with an ice pick this weekend while handing out pamphlets. 2 children narrowly survived getting killed in a shootout between gang members in the Bronx last week. According to the NYPD, crime in the Big Apple rose 22% last May compared to the same time frame last year. That includes a 47% increase in robberies, nearly 21% increase in assaults, and a 73% increase in shootings. Overall this year, NYC has seen a 17% increase in murders compared to last year. This is all after Mayor Bill de Blasio approved a $1.5 billion cut to the NYPD's budget to appease violent social justice activists last year. Of course, he's had to backtrack on that at least a little bit and approve a new precinct to the tune of about $100 million, because it turns out when you take cops off the street, crime goes up. In Oakland, California, city lawmakers had to put back $3.3 million of the $29 million they'd made in police cuts, and the mayor is now proposing to increase the department's budget by $24 million. Of course, that was only after the city saw a 215% increase in homicides and nearly triple the number of carjackings. In LA, where the police budget was cut by $150 million, the city council had to throw $50 million back into the pot after the city experienced a 22% increase in murders and a 59% increase in shootings compared to 2020. Austin, Texas voted last year to cut $150 million from their police budget. Year to date, their murder rate is up 200%, aggravated assaults are up 36%, and car thefts have risen 77%. The city's crime rate is now surpassing their population growth. In Portland, homicides have risen 7-fold and shootings have increased by more than 300% at the same time. The city council is mulling over a $3 million cut to their police budget heading into next year, because that makes sense. I could go on. There's no shortage of American cities where the local governing officials have their heads so far up their own rears they can't see how dumb this is. But I do have a question for all the people living in these cities and voting for these yahoos. How's all that gun control and defunding the police crap working out for y'all? No, really, I want to know. Considering all these liberal elites and their high-rises above $8 a cup latte shops like to wave their 4 overpriced degrees in all the rest of our faces and tell us what backwoods country bumpkins we are with our God and our guns and our flag.
The credulous boomer Rube demo that backs Donald Trump that wants to think that Donald Trump's a smart one, and y'all elitists are dumb.
You elitists with your geography and your maps and your spelling, even though my
your math and your reading.
Yeah, you're reading, you know.
Yeah, you know what? I'll take God, guns, and Old Glory over getting shot in Times Square in broad daylight or having my car jacked on the Sunset Strip. As far as maps go, Do you have one that shows all the dirty heroin needles from the 27 homeless camps you have to dodge just to get from the hotel to the Golden Gate Bridge? I'm just thinking it might be helpful for like the 4 tourists who are still interested and brave enough to visit San Francisco. Because this right here, this is liberalism. This is all it ever gets you. These cities are the places most dominated by left-wing politicians and socialist policies in the entire country. They should be the poster children for the awesomeness of all of these left-wing policies that are supposed to eliminate poverty and create a perfect utopia filled with peace and love and inclusiveness. And not a single one of them has a whole lot of good to show for it. All the poverty that their welfare programs were supposed to fix has continued to balloon out of control. All of the crime that gun control was supposed to fix has skyrocketed to historic levels. All the social ills and problems in minority communities that defunding the police was supposed to change have only gotten worse because now there's no one to respond when you call 911. The liberal politicians know this. In fact, they were counting on it because there is nothing they love more than a good victim. After all, they're all getting rich and walking around surrounded by armed security. What do they care? The problem isn't the politicians. Their game has been obvious for years. The problem is the people who have been so sucked into this Stockholm syndrome that they keep voting for the very people and the very policies that have devastated their own cities in front of their eyes. Because here's what's going to happen. Some of y'all are going to get the heck out of Dodge. Those of you who can are going to start vacating these cesspools as quickly as your telework tech jobs will let you. Big cities, including LA and Chicago, have been hemorrhaging people for the last year or more. Because come to find out, not everyone's willing to put up with the crazy taxes and the flying bullets and the human feces just for the nightlife and the art scene. So you're going to leave and you're going to head to a place with fewer syringes and better schools. Here's the trade, okay? Don't you dare bring with you the same big government, super woke, progressive communist nonsense that is already screwed up wherever it is you're coming from. If that's what you're looking for, please just keep sitting in the same puddle of filth that you've already got and leave the rest of us alone. Don't bring it here. Because this is liberalism. If it worked, it would have worked wherever you're living and you wouldn't be fleeing like a bat out of hell. This will always be liberalism. And it's not going to magically work out any better in the next place. And that's your Reality Check, America. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube and Rumble pages, like us on Facebook and Twitter, and stay sane out there.